the detail I can't leave out was that it was the very night that she was doing Radio City Music Hall that my wife called me, and
Oh, wow.
and like we were sound checking, and I'm in Radio City Music Hall, and we're sound checking, and my phone rings, and I'm like, whatever you have to say to me has to be more important than me sound checking at Radio City Music Hall. And she said, I'm pregnant. It's like, God damn it, you win.
Oh,
Yeah. I said, jump in a cab. They have everything in Radio City is unionized. They have union masseuses in the back. Go get a massage. Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
hello. Welcome to Artists Unveiled, a show where we bring on exceptional creators to not just tell you their story, but to give you real insights into how they went from striving to thriving. My name is Holiday, and on today's episode, I am proud to introduce producer, engineer, musician, and intellect Pier Giacalone, a 25-year veteran of the recording industry, having worked with such artists as Regina Spektor to Sloan Wainwright. Pierre runs a unique boutique recording studio in the great city of Doylestown. Hey Pierre, how you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm all
It's good to
right.
see you. Yeah, it's been a while.
I know. How's it going? Are you at the studio?
I'm at the studio. Yep.
Anything?
I had to borrow my wife's podcast gear, even though I'm in the middle of Star Trek here because it's not.
What's behind me?
So
You.
over here is just the main mixing setup here, mixing board. Of course, I just moved my mic, and that's where I do 98% of everything I do.
How's Doylestown?
Doylestown is very cute. Yeah, it's great. It's a wonderful little hamlet, about an hour north of Philadelphia, 2 hours west of New York City. We've been very happy here. Yeah, we came here for the kids, for the schools. But the funny thing was, I ended up working with Zayn from One Direction because I was here.
Oh, how did
Be-
that happen?
Uh, so basically, his fans know this. So he was dating Gigi Hadid, the supermodel at
Mm-hmm.
the time, and Gigi and her sister Bella, the two biggest supermodels in the world, I think. Their mother, who was also a model, had bought a place in close to us, and so he was staying with them on their compound, and I was literally 5 minutes, 3 minutes away from where they were, and so it was funny. I was on the Jersey Shore with my family, and I got a phone call like on a weekend saying, "Hi, I'm the senior vice president of A&R at Sony, and I want to bring in a VIP tomorrow." And
And you
you know,
declined.
yeah, I did. I was on the shore with my family. I said, "I'd love to do this, but I'm not there."
Oh, you
And
really did decline.
well, I did, and I referred them to another studio, yeah, a guy that I knew locally, and I said, "Yeah, look, you can go to this other studio. Actually, give him a shout out, Sweet Creek Recording Studio, and I wish I could help you." And so we finished our time on the shore. We came back home, and I was texting my friend at the other studio, and I said, "So, who was it?" Because they didn't tell me. They said it was a VIP, and he said, Nobody ever came." And right then, my phone rang, and it was like, "Hi, this is Sony. Are you ready now?"
We
And
want you. We
they
want you.
waited. They waited. So it ended up, being Zayn, and in the very beginning they were very cautious, and they were just renting my studio. It wasn't even me producing, and it was like, you can't be there, and I was like, well, that's not a good idea. I know how it works, and so we worked in a compromise, and so that I could, tech support at least, and sort of concierge, for him, and he came, and he loved the space. I think he loved the fact that it was A, isolated, no paparazzi, and B, I only had one room there, so there weren't other people working in other rooms. So it was all to himself. It was a big space too. It was like a 3,000 square foot facility. So he was very comfortable. and he ended up setting up camp and staying for 3 months, and
Wow.
it was
You
interesting.
moved
And
in.
yeah, and then he ended up we ended up getting about 5 tracks on the CD that he put out where they credited the studio and very kindly credited me as assistant engineer, which you know I helped.
Nice.
I helped here and there, but it was fun having him, and it was work, and it was interesting just seeing uh, that level of stardom and how that all works, and just for for the fans, like he's a nice guy. He's a truly sweet guy. And then the relationship continued. He shot a video at my place the next year, and that has 6 million views now on YouTube, and which is really fun. It was a duet with Ingrid Michaelson, and it was her song on her label and her thing. And I think in the video, there's a total of about 4 seconds of Zayn,
Mhm.
but all 4 seconds are are in my space, and you can see that tapestry actually he's standing in front of in one of the shots, and, so it was fun. It took them 4 hours to shoot that 4 seconds, but, you know, it's been good. He has since he lives here now in this area
Mhm.
because he and Gigi had a baby, and so he's in the area for that, I think. But he built his own studio. But every so often I get a phone call and like, we can't figure out why this thing isn't working. Can you pop in? And so
Oh, that's sweet.
it
You have a
happens.
nice
Yeah,
neighbor.
yeah. I have a neighbor. A cup of sugar for Zane.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah.
so,
So
it said you said you produced your first pro album, for Sloan Wainwright or Sloan Wainwright's first pro album?
Um, it was both actually. It's so I did this when I was in college at SUNY Purchase, and I was working with a lot of different students at the time, and I was sort of running the recording studio at the school, and a lot of those students have gone on to be pretty well known artists in their own right. But with Sloan, a good friend of mine knew her, and she was making her first CD, and this was she already had 3 kids, and
Now that's Rufus's aunt?
yes, Rufus's aunt and Loudon Wainwright's sister.
Gotcha.
They have quite a clan over there, very talented. Lucy is also related, like Lucy Wainwright, but so it was her debut album, and my friend referred her to me, and then I wasn't hired, but I was sort of haunting a studio nearby the school called Acme Recording Studios, and it was a pro studio. The Spin Doctors got started there. The owners were really sweet guys and very talented. And One of them had kind of taken me under his wing, and even though I wasn't really working there, he would let me, you know, sit in on sessions, and so I went to them and said, "Look, I have this artist. She wants to make an album, and I'd like to engineer it, even though I didn't have any, I wasn't qualified, yeah, to be quite honest. But the owner
Young
literally
enough
just
not to know better.
yeah, well, and the funny thing about that, that's real. That's so real because the one of the owners gave me like the grand tour of the studio, and I was just furiously taking notes, and what it boiled down to was no, I didn't know what I was doing, but I had an idea, which microphones to put on which instruments and how to get the signal clean.
Right.
And really what it was I didn't get in my own way or theirs, and she brought in a talented band, with good arrangements. And to this day, not every song in the album, but there are songs that I look back on and I'm like, "Wow, like, that really sounds amazing," and, I wonder if I would've made it that if it would've been that good if I did it today knowing everything I know, because it was all of the fundamentals were there. It was
Right.
great music, great players, great room,
Right.
great
Because it was so
equipment.
simplistic, you could actually mess it up if you added too much, right?
Yeah, yeah, and the funny thing about the album too is, like, thinking about it now, it's a little hair-raising, but, to save money, they did half the album live in the studio, like, direct to digital audio tape at the time,
Nice.
so, like, no mixing, like, everything was live,
Sure.
and I'm proud of the fact that you can listen through the album and you can't spot it. You can't say that was a live one and that was the one that.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it's fun. Sloan is a sweetheart. Actually, there's a little story about that I think might be worth telling,
Sure.
which is I learned a huge lesson on those sessions, and it has to do with the way bands interact in the studio and also the way production people interact in the studio. And it was a big lesson for me, which was when the band came in, they told me the guitar player thinks he's producing. He's a know-it-all. He thinks he knows everything. Don't listen to him. Don't do anything he says. And we've already told him that he can't come to the mixing because he's such a know-it-all. And being very young and inexperienced, I was like, sure, okay. And they started recording, and um, he didn't. I didn't really feel that he was doing that. I didn't perceive him to be interfering with the recording process. He made decisions about what he did with his guitars that I didn't necessarily agree with, but whatever. The keyboard player, on the other hand, all was what they were talking about in terms of knowing it all and trying to direct everything and produce. But I agreed with everything he thought. I thought he was actually quite knowledgeable. And so, anyway, the bottom line is in the process of doing the recording, I allowed myself to be to sort of lean with my own point of view and sort of side with this person, side with this group or side with that group. And I don't feel like I did a very good job of remaining neutral. And anyway, and I produced the album. They did 8 or 10. They did 8 original songs, and I think largely because of her name, but also it was a good album. Sloan got offered a record contract from an independent label.
Nice. Good
Great.
work.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And and but the label wanted 2 more cover songs, and they were like, "This is to introduce you to the world, and so that people know where to slot you," kind of, and that's a lesson its own right. And so she did, and they did like a couple of Grateful Dead songs, or they did a Grateful Dead and a Sly and the Family Stone song. But what happened was, the guitar player felt that I was sided against him. And so when he had to come back in and to do the next 2 songs, he said, "I don't want to work with him."
Hmm. Well, there's
And
always politics, right?
there's politics. So they went to the owner and they said, "Look, we need to do 2 more songs, but it can't be with Pierre." And I was like hanging around that studio 24/7 because I was trying to soak up like a sponge and learn things. So they had to dance around me and schedule it around me when I wasn't there, and it was uncomfortable for the owners of the studio. It looked really bad on me. And the album came out. It's great. It's a great album. It's still out and everything. It's her debut album. She's done a dozen more now, and she's had a whole career. And then like later after the album was finished, I was like I went and mixed her act at the Falcon Ridge Folk Festival, and on the drive up there, she told me what had happened, and she felt bad, and so we went through that, and I think I had bitterness for a while. I did the 5 stages of grief, and kind of got over it, and I just really I walked away with the lesson of like, dude, don't do that. Yeah, stay impartial always in the
Stay impartial.
studio. Yeah, stay out of band politics, and that's the lesson. That's the good lesson. The nice part of the story was at some point 20 years later, Sloan did a very sweet post on social media, just saying very nice things about me, and like I think it made me feel better about the whole
That's so
situation.
nice. All
Yeah,
that time later.
there was a full circle moment there, and that was nice. And I hope the guitar player understands that whatever that it wasn't that way, but life happens. You learn lessons, and that was like it was my first full production, producing capacity. Oh, actually, I left a detail out. I wasn't originally hired to produce. I was originally hired to engineer. When they told the guitar player that he couldn't come to the sessions, it was like, oh, now we don't have a producer, and so then they asked me to
Oh,
produce.
that's an interesting
Yeah, and that's how I fell into producing, and I think most importantly, I did produce Sloan through her vocal recording,
Well, I was
and that
gonna say that, which is important, obviously,
yeah.
yes. I was gonna say before you gave that very important nugget, um, that you can never do the right thing, you can never do the wrong thing. The because you just don't know why things are happening or why they're not happening, and sometimes you make a mistake and everyone you get accolades, and other times you do everything perfectly and no one is even clapping.
Yeah,
And it's just a matter of, you know, going on the road and keep going because you just never know what's gonna happen.
yeah, well, it's you learn, and, like, n navigating people is such, the biggest, hardest part of the job. You start this and you have this wall of tech that you have to learn, and you think that's kind of what it's all about. And if I learn the tech really well, and if I produce great quality recordings, then I've done my job. But the much bigger part of the job is the people,
Right, the soft
and
skills, but, I
yeah.
think people often go one way or the other. They have super great soft skills, they're very charismatic, but they don't know anything technical, or they're super
Right.
techy, but they can't speak with anyone because 'cause they're terrified.
Yeah.
And
Well, sorry, go ahead.
no, I was gonna say the thing is I think we're all terrified, but and that's the thing to know, but what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, I've found it's the like, you can say soft skills, but they're so important. Like, I think it's the people that have the people skills that actually excel,
Yeah.
and that do better. I know several people that are incredible technicians, and they haven't done as well in their careers as the people that knew how to get along with people. And, you know, particularly you have to if you're working with artists are artsy.
Yeah, artists are
Artists
artsy, you
are
have to
they're
under
about their feelings,
right.
and like like the
It's a
adage,
feeling world.
yeah, and the adage goes, people remember how you made them feel,
That's true.
and
People do remember how you made them feel.
it's so important. And the other thing is, literally anybody can learn the tech. Like if you're committed, if you want to. Not
Most
anybody.
people can learn the tack. I don't know if
Well,
anyone.
if it's believe me, if I did, anybody can, like,
Okay,
'cause
okay.
I'm not actually that kind of head, but, like, I had to, and, if you're committed, then you can, but it's the people side of it is a different, like, that's a gift that some people really have, and,
They have,
you know
there's a gift, but there's all different kinds of people,
Yeah,
and it just really depends. People get into their niche, and in that niche, they have really good people skills. You just never
yeah,
know.
yeah. Well, it's funny because like, we have Barb in common, Barb Morrison, the producer,
Yes,
and,
we have
like,
Barb in common.
I can't think of anybody that's got the people thing down better than Barb. Yeah.
Yeah, Barb's great. I mean,
Yeah,
Barb has the people, but it's natural.
yeah. Well, also, I mean, what's I find really fascinating about Barb is that, like, Barb really
Everything's
embraced that.
fascinating about
Yeah, I
Barb.
know,
How do you
you're
pick a
right.
thing?
Yeah, you're right.
We're talking about Barb Morrison, who's
Yeah,
gonna be
Barb
a
Morrison.
guest too, actually.
Barb really leaned into the people side of producing. Like, I mean, Barb is knowledgeable about the engineering side, but Barb made the decision to have engineers so that they could focus on the people side. And I think that was a brilliant decision on their part. And it also, it's what makes Barb so special as a producer in the same way that, like a Rick Rubin is so special and he's made a point of not, really not doing the tech side and letting others do that. And, I think there's really something to that. You know, there's different breeds of producers, and that kind of, embracing the people side and not the tech side, they tend to do well, you know.
So, how about Regina Spektor? What was that all about?
Oh, that was amazing. What a whirlwind. I mean, one of the things I've seen is that these artists tend to be who they appear to be. Like, I mean, I'm sure there are artists that put on personas, but I haven't run into them. And at least both
Interesting.
Regina and Zayn, they're similar insofar, even though their music is very different. They're similar insofar as they're very genuine, and they both have gorgeous fandoms. I might add, like they really have sweet, sweet fandoms. And I think it reflects the authenticity that they have as artists. Um, Yeah, it's such a great story, but there's so much that could be told. But yeah, I mean, Regina for me is an example of why somebody might choose to move to a big city like to New York, because that's exactly how that happened for me, where it was very by chance that a neighbor that I had had in Greenpoint, Brooklyn, after we had moved apart, like 6 months after we no longer were neighbors, even called me out of the
You broke
blue.
up. You
Yeah,
broke up
right.
as neighbors.
And like, it's funny because we didn't hang out, like socially, but I guess she had my number and she called me. And at the time, I was working like a day gig, like I was working at a bank, doing PowerPoint and hating it. And I got this phone call and it was like, "Hey, I'm tour managing for this artist on Warner Brothers. Do you want to go on tour with me and be the sound guy?" It's like, "Yes." Yes, I do. And I didn't know who she was because I've never been hip and I've never been that up on the latest greatest thing. I should have known who
You
she
just
was
have
because
good luck.
yeah, well,
Uh,
she made it in my hood. She made it in the Lower East Side. But yeah, it was very good luck. And so we went on, like, Regina had just been signed to Warner Brothers. And so they sort of, to warm her up as a headliner, they did a small national tour of clubs, small clubs. And so I did that. And the plan was that when we got to LA, I would go home and my friend would go to Europe with her. And it flipped. And, she got sort of attached to me being her sound guy. And so I went to Europe with her and they got a tour manager in Europe. And
wow.
I don't know if she regrets that now, but it's, and I ended up doing the rest of the year with her, about 9 months. And during that time, my wife got pregnant and I decided I didn't want to tour with a baby. So I ended up walking away, which was crazy. Not, I don't regret it, but it was still like, it was a big decision to have to make
I
even
think that's the
so.
unseen world, the career versus the life, and then
Yeah.
where they intertwine and where they diverge. What advice do you wish you had been given?
The way that anybody succeeds in anything, I think, is so customized to who they are and their personality.
It's true.
Um, and I mean, it's the same thing in life. It's just like as you get older, you realize that you were always your biggest impediment, and that like your insecurities and your feelings about yourself were always the biggest thing in your way.
Right, when you look
And
back at your interactions, you mean, kinda thing?
well,
Or
I just mean in life in general and the
yeah.
decisions that you make. I mean, the one thing that I don't regret and I'm happy that I did was that I was always, a screw it, do it kind of person, and like the cynical side would be like just fake it till you make it kind of thing. But like, when I was with Regina, like I had never mixed a bigger room than 600 people maybe. And in the middle, like we did this club tour that was about, that size or lower. And then all we did Europe, and that was theaters, and it wasn't that big. Then we came back to the States, and all of a sudden it was Radio City Music Hall. And all of a sudden it was 7,000 seat arenas, and it was opening for Keane when they had just had their big hit.
Oh, wow, I
And
love their hit.
yeah, they were the nicest guys too. Again, authenticity. They were so sweet. But it's like the like going from mixing the Bowery Ballroom to Radio City Music Hall in the course of 3 months, and not only that, but with like the president of Warner Brothers over one shoulder, just like the pressure was intense. And the detail I can't leave out was that it was the very night that she was doing Radio City Music Hall that my wife called me, and
Oh, wow.
and like we were sound checking, and I'm in Radio City Music Hall, and we're sound checking, and my phone rings, and I'm like, whatever you have to say to me has to be more important than me sound checking at Radio City Music Hall. And she said, I'm pregnant. It's like, God damn it, you
Oh,
win.
it's
I said, jump in a cab, They have everything in Radio City is unionized. They have union masseuses in the back. Go get a massage. Yeah, we'll talk about it later. Regina was so tickled that that a baby was had on her tour. If you look on the liner notes of the CD for Begin to Hope, which was the first Warner Brothers album of hers, that was after that tour, it's and the thank yous in the middle. It says to Pier, Jen, and baby Ben, and he was he was a fetus at the time we were doing all of that. But yeah, she was so sweet. She did an entire press thing once with her hand on Jen's belly, like trying to feel him kick, and
That's so sweet.
yeah, it was very sweet. She's very family and warm, and it was very sweet. But yeah, so Regina was, and it was 9 months, I guess, or about 9 months of touring, and it was amazing. We did van tours through France and the Alps and
Oh, wow.
Switzerland, and 3 times in the UK and the
Amazing.
festivals. Yeah, it was really, I met a lot of people. I met Obama in 2005 when he was Senator Obama,
Mhm.
and that was amazing. Yeah, because she did a rock the vote thing, and the speakers were Obama and John McCain in
Oh, wow.
2005 before, the election. So, yeah, it was exciting, but, yeah, I'll never I mean, it was a life experience that I'll never regret or forget, and, um, you know, I and again, it's like if I don't know, I don't think I misrepresented my experience, but I think, again, it was reaching, it was like, I don't know if I can do this and doing it anyway. And that's the biggest, I don't know if anybody actually gave me that advice, but I mean, I think coming from New York City, yeah, you grow up a little rough and tumble and like it's just and the competition and everything and you do it, you go. And so I do think that's a good piece of advice for young people, which is like, just don't undercut yourself. Be reaching, put yourself in situations where you have to reach. It's like you always have a greater potential than what you see in yourself. And and it's important to put yourself in those positions so that you can achieve it and reach it.
That's true
And
'cause other
you know,
other people will also see things in you,
yeah,
and, authenticity is important because, sometimes the thing that you hide is the thing that would've got you the job. So, as long as
right,
that's not a bad temper, 'cause
right,
you shouldn't take that out on anyone, but you never know what's gonna shine, you know?
yeah. And I don't know, like, in retrospect, there were some crazy times on the road, and, like, I don't know if Regina now, like, regrets hiring me or not, but, like, I mean, we're good, like, she had us come see her on Broadway and gave us backstage passes
I
and
think she
everything, and
likes you.
I hope so. I like her very much, and her husband's really a delight too, Jack. But yeah, the same thing applied to when I went on like when I was 20 and the first pro playing gig I ever did was a guitar player in a cruise ship band, and it was 20 years old. Answered an ad out of the back of the Village Voice, and 2 weeks later, I'm meeting this band in Utica, New York, at a hotel, and just I mean, it's things have gotten so careful these days that you can't really picture anybody doing that anymore, but it's,
No, it's
you
how we
go.
used to do it. You just
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah, right, exactly. You just do it. You just go.
The world has gotten a little crazier though, but yeah.
That's true, but,
Still the
people
world, it's always
people
been the
say it
world.
was always crazy and that we just didn't take as much concern. I don't know. I can't tell, but I just know that, like, you have to put yourself out there. You have to challenge yourself, and I get the point I was trying to make was that, like, even if you fail, like, even if, like, the people that you
There's
ended
no fail. You just keep trying.
right, you try
No
well, it's
fail, just try.
like,
Try
let's say
again.
let's say I screwed something up and got fired, like, I still would've gained so much from the experience, and, like the first studio that I opened in Chelsea, like, I worked like hell at that, and the bottom line is that it's next to impossible to have that business in the middle of New York City. It's it's terribly competitive, and it's very expensive and everything. But I did it, and I kept it open for like 3 or 4 years, and did a ton of work. I mean, I worked 16 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I did have to close that studio. So was it a failure? I learned so much. And when I was able to open the next studio, I had all that knowledge, and it's just a journey. And again, I think people hold themselves back for fear of failure. And, I mean, you hear influencers and people like Scott Galloway saying this all the time, but don't be afraid to fail, particularly not when you're young.
Mhm.
Like it's the people that aren't afraid to fail that actually manage to do something.
Any extra special thing that you can think of that you want to say real quick before we wind down?
I guess, yeah, well, one thought is just that for artists and musicians in particular, it's very bleak right now, and like it feels like there's no industry to enter. And I think on some level that's true. And the trick is that you have to see that as your challenge.
As an
The
or an
cha-
opportunity to create
yeah,
something.
exactly. Yeah. And you know, this is the challenge of your generation. You have to make it from scratch. And it's been done before,
Isn't
believe
that what
me.
art is?
Yeah.
Isn't it taking, a straw and deciding this is a piece of art and putting it up on a wall? You know?
And getting someone to buy it,
And
right?
and I think art comes out of turmoil. It can come out of something beautiful, but often it's a kind of an alchemy. It's like,
Yeah.
do I allow destruction to be destruction and do I become part of that, or do I alchemize that into something bigger
Yeah,
and share that with the
absolutely.
world?
Yeah, well, the thing that I worry about is that, like, you had punk rock coming out of, like, the '80s and the Reagan Revolution, and what I worry about is that, like, the oppressiveness of the industry being gone and capitalism and whatever else is going on in the world is, like, not direct and enough, like, coming from one place to inspire the direct reaction that punk rock was,
Mhm.
and that's what's needed right now. Like, there needs to be, a reaction, an artistic reaction to, the dystopia, and, I don't think we've seen it yet, or maybe I'm just not hip enough to see it, but
Maybe
it's
sometimes when you're in the middle of something, you can't see it.
yeah, yeah. Well, like that's the way everything happens. Somebody pops out of nowhere, but they've been there the whole time, and so I'm hoping that's happening right now, and that we will see it.
Well, let's see resist on your t-shirt and persist,
Yes,
right?
resist and persist. Like, be strong like penguin. when
Th-
when they tariff your penguins, like fight back.
Thank you
But
so much, Pierre. I greatly
thank you.
appreciate you coming, and I hope to see you again.
Yeah, you too. Thanks. Good luck with the podcast.
Thanks so much for stopping by. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Artists Unveiled. Please check us out on Instagram at dimi.app.og, that's dimi.app.og, and on our website at godimi.com.